I call this meeting to order. By roll call, show that all council members are present. We welcome those in attendance tonight and those who are watching on Sholo TV or on an electronic device. Tonight, the invocation will be given by Brooklyn Lee, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Aiden Hamilton. Those of you who would like to join, please stand.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for the opportunity that we have to be here tonight. We're thankful for the country that we live in, and we're grateful for the freedoms that we're able to enjoy. We're grateful for the rain that has fallen upon us recently, and we ask that we will be able to receive more. We pray that we'll be able to have thy presence with us as we go through the course of this meeting. We're thankful for all of our many blessings. We love thee so very much. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next item is call to the public. Any citizen desiring to speak on a matter that is not scheduled on the agenda may do so at this time. The City Council cannot discuss or act on any items presented during call to the public. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing no one else move forward. Oh.
Hang on 1 minute. Do we have one, Rachel, or no?
I wanted to know what.
Wait.
My name is Meadow, and I live in Hacienda Way in Sholo. And I just wanted to know what all the new business Part C was, if you guys could explain that to me. Because that's my tax money and I want to know where everything's going. Is that possible for you to do that?
Well, we can discuss that when we get to that item on the agenda.
Yeah, can I participate in the discussion though?
That time, yes, you
Okay.
can, yeah. This is a call to the public for raising something that's not on the agenda tonight, but you have an issue.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody understands that anyway. So, thank you.
Seeing no one else moving forward, we'll close call to the public and move to special events. Tonight we have a presentation by Mr. Brimhall for the City of Sholo's American Disabilities Act Committee.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and students. It was a pleasure interacting with you today. It's also my pleasure to be here this evening and speak a little bit about the ADA committee that we have at the City of Sholo. Now, I made a report last year at this time, and it was the first report that I was able to make council about the ADA projects that we're doing around town. The ADA means the Americans with Disabilities Act. I explained that a little bit when I met the students this morning. And that law was signed into law in 1993. And we have a committee that was founded in 2018 to help the city better understand how we are serving the ADA populations in Sholo and how we can better meet their needs. The committee is comprised of staff and also some of the public. Meetings are held quarterly, and we discuss ongoing efforts made by the City of Sholo. And I like to read this purpose because we can get a little bit bogged down if we focus on too broad of things. Okay, so this is a really good short executive summary of what the committee is all about. It says the purpose of this committee is to review city policies, procedures, and recommendations related to implementing and making improvements to city facilities and programs based on federal ADA regulations. Now, ADA regulations are built in to every building that the city of Show Low builds, every piece of sidewalk that we build, and we're going to kind of outline what the city's done in the last year to comply with those ADA regulations that come to us from the federal government. And I've got some pictures so we can look at some fun things. And then I've got a list of things, and then go ahead and answer any questions that we might have. All right, first slide. That is a transit bus stop. It's actually an older one. You can kind of see it's a bit dingy. I would like you to compare this one with the next one. These are the new ones that we're putting up all around town. There should be 13 or 14 of these installed around town at the various transit stops this year. Much more pleasant. If you'll notice there on the left-hand side of the transit stop, there is a space for a wheelchair. That's an important distinction from the last one that we saw. Now, I put this picture in there on purpose. If you see where that is, does anybody know where that is? That may or may not be close to us here. That is Dale.
Is that behind the old police station?
Oh man, this guy's good. That is right by the old police station and the Timber Mesa station. So you will see right there that there's a bit of construction going on. So at Archibald Park this past year, all of that equipment was upgraded from what it was. I think it had been in the ground for 16 or 17 years, quite a long time. And we upgraded that. And a lot of these elements that you see here are ADA compatible, okay? That usually leads to those in the know. What's happening at Frontier Park? A few years ago, we got into a really neat conversation with a group called Unlimited Play. And we had the idea of putting a 100% inclusive playground in Show Low that will look like this at Frontier Park. That's pretty neat. We did get a grant for this park, a matching grant, in 2020, and we're still waiting on the federal government to check the box and release the check. And we've been told that very soon that will happen. So we're excited about that. All right, has anybody recently been to the Meadow and seen all the changes that have happened out there? Did I hear an echo back here? Well, as you can see on your screens, that phase 1 of the trail in the Meadow has been completed. And you see right there to your left some ADA fishing piers. These were done with grant funding and general fund. So the grant funding came from the Heritage Grant and for the trail, and for the fishing piers was a grant through Arizona Game and Fish. Now, we thought that was a really neat project, and we were able to do that for our ADA folk in Show Low. And just so happens that phase 2, we're talking about phase 1 here, that was completed earlier this year. Phase 2, which is that section in blue, that will be completed in the upcoming months. Grant funding has been awarded for that, and we look forward to having that trail system completed, that section of trail complete. That will terminate on Wolford there. All right. Happy to report that heavy door on the new police department is you can push a button, it'll open itself. So that's a neat feature that will allow folks with ADA concerns to get into the building. The Hall Street connectivity infrastructure, that is just, let's see which direction, that's right here by the house, by Sweetheart's Cafe, and by KFC. All of that connective infrastructure was completed in the last year. The Senior Center kitchen expansion, now that's an interesting one. That was done with grant funding through the Arizona Department of Housing. And that actually won an award. And what that grant does is it helps our elderly population. A lot of those folks have ADA concerns, get warm meals on a daily basis. Everybody, well, not everybody, I shouldn't say everybody. Most people know that our library has been expanded. That construction was done with ADA folks in mind. All of the new construction that we do, the city of Show Low, has to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. So that is no exception. I can say this without a doubt, everybody is aware that there's been a lot of work being done along the Deuce Clubs, a lot of concrete. All of that connective sidewalk and concrete that's been put in meets with the Americans with Disabilities Act laws. That's neat. Connective infrastructure is something that can be a barrier to folks in wheelchairs and with ambulatory needs. And so it's neat to have those done. Oh, I almost forgot about this one until it was brought up in a meeting today. The sidewalk connectivity near Show Low Lake, that's ongoing. It's nearly complete. But again, sidewalks are a big deal. People being able to get from point A to point B on a flat surface with the right amount of grading, that's really important. And that's something that the city of Show Low's done up here. These are a couple future projects that I'd like to talk about real quick. At City Park, some of those restrooms are relatively old. There is a plan in place to utilize CDBG funding. CDBG is the Community Development Block Grant, okay? And that funding can be made available for projects for ADA. And so what we're planning on doing is rebuilding those restrooms to ADA standards. And last but not least, Bill and I just got out of a meeting late last week about constructing ADA access into Show Low Lake. Boat dock goes down right there. And that will be hopefully soon in the next year or so, we'll see that completed. Again, these are just in the last year, this is the stuff that we have either started or completed. So that's an awful lot of stuff for our ADA folks. And appreciate the opportunity to report. And I have time for questions if you have any. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brimhall. Next, we have a presentation by 4 students, Brooklyn Lee, Bill Clark, Warren Jones, and myself, who attended the League of Arizona Cities and Towns annual conference.
So recently we were able to go travel with the group of us, along with several members of our city council, down to the Arizona League of Cities and Towns, which is a big old convention where almost every city and town in Arizona sends delegates, go compare notes, learn what you can do new, see what other people in the community are doing. And so a couple 10 or 15 years ago, they started doing youth councils along with this. So the city councils would bring youth delegates down, and our city's been doing this for a long time, longer than I've been in our high school. So we were able to go down, learn some new stuff, and we're just back here to report on what we found.
All right, so while we were there, we sat through little meetings, and the one I focused on was the mental health one. So she kind of talked about how mental health problems are becoming more abundantly frequent in today's world, and so it's increasingly important that we make sure that students feel heard in our school districts, make various helplines known and accessible around the towns and schools so that individuals can get help when they need it, and also to learn different techniques to help individuals who are struggling with anxiety, such as the stop, drop, and roll technique, which basically is when you're in a situation that you're experiencing a problem, that you just stop what you're doing, you evaluate your situation, and then you just leave. And then another one that she brought up was to move your body, because this helps to relieve and resolve your mental stress.
I was able to take notes on the public speaking portion of our conference. And so we were taught over the course of a 50-minute session that we should keep everything short, sweet, and to the point.
I took notes on a speaker that talked about networking and how to approach people that you possibly want to have connections with or start projects with. And they said just to have your short introduction with your name, role, and possibly a question while you approach them. And while you're in the conversation that you're practicing active listening, like asking open-ended questions, identifying common ground, or asking for advice. And they also talk about easy ways to leave a conversation if you need to talk to other potential connections, like summarizing and recapping what you talked about, showing appreciation for the conversation, or just asking for contact information.
While we were there, we made a few connections with people that I'd like to talk about. So when me and Kel were in the networking session, we were walking around to some of the vendors, and we talked to Snyder Electric, and they gave us a free hat. And they also talked to us that they did a project in our town of Shola. We got to connect with them on a personal level, seeing as they have worked with our town. And we also made some friends in our sessions. Their names were Paige and Becca. And after talking to them, we figured out that they had a connection to our town as well because they've been here for church reasons. So we just got to connect with them, talk a little bit, and we swap business phone numbers. And then there's there's a young woman we met in the hot tub, and she was going to GCU. And we told her to come visit our town along her road trip, and she said she'd consider it. So we talked to her for a bit, and then the next day, after the meeting, I got a few business cards from some people from Peoria Town Advisory Board. I got a lady's phone number. She works for the city of, it was Phoenix. She worked for the city of Phoenix. And then, so while we were there, we got to network with people. We got to talk business with other cities. So now we have opportunities to network with them and to compare cities, and so we can figure out ways we can work together. And that's something I got out of it.
You said that was in the hot tub? Is that what I
Yeah,
I just want to make sure I heard that correctly.
Chick in the hot tub.
Thank you guys. That's all we have.
Thank you again to our city council for allowing us to go and attend and learn at this conference. Are there any questions at this time?
How big was the hot tub?
Our whole group went down there. Everyone was down at the pool because the pool wasn't heated, but the hot tub was.
Gotcha.
They definitely should have built more heaters into the pool.
I just want to thank you guys for giving the report for sure, but I appreciate you guys going down there and representing you represented the whole high school, so it's pretty cool. So thank you guys very much.
You know, and there's one other thing I'd like to thank you guys for. These last few years when the high school goes down there, you guys present the city flag and you walk down there when on the parade of flags. And it's just humbling to see that our kids are engaged in that, and they took honor. You guys took honor in doing that flag, and so I want to thank you for stepping up and doing that stuff for us too. Appreciate it.
You guys. Thank you. Get this meeting going.
Our next item is the consent calendar. Does any council member wish to pull off an item for discussion? On the consent calendar, we have consideration of a proclamation for Constitution Week, a proclamation for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, authorization to purchase a 10-wheel dump truck, acceptance of East Cooley roadway improvements, resolution number R 2021-26, and city council minutes for September 7th regular meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Councilman Clark, I move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Is there a second?
I am seconding the motion for Councilman Hatch.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion's passed 7-0. We'll now have the city clerk, Ms. Hall, read the proclamations aloud.
Thank you. Whereas we, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, did ordain and establish a Constitution for the United States of America to secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. And whereas it is important that all citizens fully understand the provisions, principles, and meaning of the Constitution so they can support, preserve, and defend it against encroachment. And whereas we must always remember those who risked and sacrificed their lives to protect our freedoms and honor those who stand ready to take action every day to defend our nation, both here and abroad. And whereas the 234th commemoration of the adoption of the U.S. Constitution on September 17, 1787, provides an historic opportunity for all Americans to learn about and to reflect upon the rights and privileges of citizenship and its responsibilities. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week to commemorate the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas the people of the city of Show Low, Navajo County, Arizona, do enjoy the blessings of liberty, the guarantees of the Bill of Rights, equal protection of the law under the Constitution, and the freedoms derived from it. Now, therefore, John Leach Jr., Mayor, on behalf of the Show Low City Council, does hereby join our state and nation and proclaim the week, September 17th through 23rd, 2021, as Constitution Week in the city of Show Low, and invites every citizen and institution to join in the national commemoration. And the second one, whereas domestic violence is a pervasive problem that affects women, men, and children of every age, race, gender, background, and belief, with 1 in 4 women and 1 in 10 men in Arizona suffering physical violence in their lifetimes. And whereas 1 or more children witness domestic violence every 44 minutes in Arizona, and whereas every minute, 24 people are victim of physical violence by an intimate partner in the United States. And whereas the United States Congress has designated October as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month every year since 1989. And whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month reaffirms our dedication to forge a community where no one suffers the hurt and hardship that domestic violence causes, and we recommit to doing everything in our power to uphold the basic human right to be free from violence and abuse. And whereas in honor of Arizona's 7th annual Lighting Arizona Purple campaign, Show Low's downtown streetlights will be lit purple throughout the month of October to raise awareness about domestic violence. And whereas we must remain united in our commitment to safeguard and open the doors of opportunity for every member of our community and support local efforts to assist victims of these crimes in finding the help and healing they need. Now, therefore, John Leach Jr., Mayor, on behalf of the Show Low City Council, does proclaim the month of October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the city of Show Low, and does hereby urge all citizens to pledge their unwavering support to those in need and recognize the advocates, victim service providers, and organizations who work tirelessly to extend hope and healing to survivors and victims every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate that. And just real quick, we do have a few copies of the Constitution in case somebody wants them while you're here. And there's also, I believe, I'm not sure on the date, but there is a walk coming up for that. I'm not positive of the date. I know it's in October. I think it's like the 3rd weekend they are doing a walk. I don't know a lot of details about it, but there is a walk for domestic violence. Thank you.
The first item under new business is consideration of award of contract for city campus parking lot improvements. City of Show Low project number R1621 and authorization of associated budget transfers. Mr. Hemseth.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and students. The city's fiscal year 2022 capital improvements program budget include $695,000 in funding labeled City Campus Master Plan Phase 1. Scope of work includes pulverizing the existing parking lot, installing a new 3-inch asphalt overlay, expanding the parking lot with a new 3-inch asphalt section on 8 inches of AB base, installing new curb, gutter, sidewalk, ADA ramps, installing new concrete stairway between the pickleball courts and the gym, as well as drainage facilities necessary for the improvements. The improvements would provide 143 paved parking stalls and 5 additional ADA accessible parking stalls in the site. The improvements also include the installation of electrical conduit, 14 parking lot lights, and irrigation conduit for future landscape improvements. Due to the existing budget allocated for the project, an additive alternate number 1 was included in the bid. The additive alternative number 1 scope of work includes installing 3-inch asphalt overlay over the existing millings portion of the parking along the west side of the pickleball courts, installing electrical conduit, and installing 3 more parking lot lights. The additive alternate will provide an additional 32 parking or paved parking stalls. That would be awarded based on the bids that were submitted. The project was designed by city engineering staff with an engineer's estimate of $725,000. The project was publicly bid in accordance with statutory requirements with the following result. Macaulay Construction, with a base bid of $775,589.00, and additive alternate number 1 of $63,994.75, and for a grand total bid of $839,583.75. Sunland Asphalt, base bid $1,011,955.50. Additive alternate number 1, $98,821.50 for their grand total of $1,110,777. And Western Grade LLC submitted a bid. It's an incomplete bid with a bid error. It was not read. It was not open. Staff recommends awarding the construction contract for the city campus parking lot improvements, City of Shola Project R1621, with the base bid and the additive alternate number 1 to Macaulay Construction in that amount not to exceed that $839,583.75, and authorize the transfer of $144,583.75 in American Rescue Plan Act or ARPA funds to fully fund the project. The bid tabulation for the work is attached. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hemseth. Are there any questions for the staff?
I have. When are they going to start the project?
Well, this same contractor also was awarded the Sugar Pines sidewalk in Torion. We're pre-conning that next week, and they're going to get going in the next 2 weeks. I believe they're going to do that first and then roll into this project. The concrete work will go ahead and get going, in the next couple months, and we can take that into the winter. We'd like to try to pave portions of it if we can as we go. If not, the asphalt probably might not hit till spring.
The reason I'm asking is because of the season coming up, that building's going to be used a lot.
It is
coming up, so I'm hoping they take that in consideration so it's never blocked off permanently, where we still get there's 3 or 4 doors to that building. So I just want to make sure whatever we do, he doesn't block off all access to that door.
We talked about this. This is such a big project where I think we can do it in sections, still maneuver the public around.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'm going to ask the question that Commander McNeil's can't ask. Is this going to affect the gym usage of the city campus there? Is that going to be problematic?
Nope, facility will remain open. There might be different places to park. You might have to walk a little farther to your car, which shouldn't be a problem, right, if you're going to the gym. But no, we'll maintain, all the facilities remain open.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
I got one question too. After all these years, are we going to get rid of that sidewalk or the cement with the rock sticking up out of it?
Yes.
Thank you.
So that's part of the scope. We're taking that, our own crews are taking that and getting that out of the way. And we're going to have a nice concrete stairway between the pickleball courts and the gym finally. So
It's always been a hazard right there, so I'm glad to see that's gone.
I need to get some pictures of that and send it over to the museum.
Or ADA.
Not ADA.
Any further questions? Do we have a motion?
For Councilwoman Wilson, I move to award the construction contract for the city campus parking lot improvements, City of Shola project number R-1621 to Macaulay Construction Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $839,583.75 and authorize the associated budget transfers.
Do we have a second?
I am seconding the motion for Councilman Adams.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion passes 7-0. The next item. Thank you. The next item under new business is consideration of resolution number R2021 24, approving Third Amendment to Torian Development Agreement. Mr. Chergaskis.
Thank you, members of council, student council, student leadership representatives. On February 18th of 1997, the City and Summit Development Company, LLC, entered into a development agreement outlining the roles and responsibilities of each party regarding the Torreon development. This agreement was later amended in February of 98 and June of 2000. Representatives of Torreon have approached the city regarding a third amendment to this development agreement. The purpose of this amendment is to include Torreon Lakes into the development agreement. This would have the effect of increasing the total number of recognized permitted lots within the Torreon subdivision from 1,733 to 1,808. I would add that current development within that subdivision, within the Torreon project, is well below the maximum number of lots that have been agreed upon in the development agreement. This agreement also certifies that both parties agree that Summit and the city have satisfied all their obligations under the agreement. Long-term agreements such as maintenance of landscaping within the right-of-way would remain in effect. With that, staff as well as a representative from Torreon are available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chergaskis. Are there any questions for staff? Do we have a motion?
For Vice Mayor Kakavas, I move to adopt resolution number R 2021-24 approving the Third Amendment to the Torreon Development Agreement.
Do we have a second?
I'm seconding the motion for Councilman Alsop.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion passes 7-0. The next item under new business is consideration of resolution number R 2021-25, approving the sale and execution and delivery of excess tax revenue obligations, Series 2021, evidencing a proportionate interest of the owners thereof in a purchase agreement from the city, approving the form and authorizing the execution and delivery of such a purchase agreement and other necessary agreements for such sale, delegating authority to determine certain matters and terms with respect to the foregoing and declaring an emergency. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and student government. Someone's going to have a chance to be a star reading this motion. I'm just saying, it's a good one. It'll be memorable. At the April 2021 council budget study session, city staff discussed the potential of issuing bonds for multiple sewer projects. This financing opportunity would allow the city to catch up on some projects that have been delayed due to lack of funding. Staff also talked about the current financing environment and low interest rates. It was recommended that staff contact the placement agent to discuss the feasibility of bond issuance. Based on the information contained, staff signed an engagement letter with Stiefel, which allows them to assess our financial situation. Once the engagement letter was executed, staff met with Mark Reeder of Stiefel, who has been retained by the city to serve as placement agent in connection with the transaction being contemplated, along with the city's bond counsel, Michael Cafiso, with Greenberg Traurig. The interest rate is estimated to be less than 2%, and we actually started receiving bids yesterday, and we're looking at about 1.25%, so it's well below the 2%. As discussed prior to tentative budget adoption on June 1st, 2021, staff has increased the unanticipated line item in the fiscal year 22 budget to accommodate this funding opportunity in the fiscal year 22 budget. A project list has been attached as Exhibit A. The financing documents referenced in the resolution and sent to council for review. Staff recommends approving resolution R 2021-25 and authorizing the mayor and staff to move forward with the funding process. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Are there any questions for the staff? Do we have a motion?
For Councilman Clark, I move to adopt resolution.
Are there any questions from the public?
What was there?
Do we know how much?
Can you state your name and address, please?
I just did before. Jeannie Amato. I live in Hacienda.
Thank you.
So do we know how much this is going to cost? How many bonds?
Yeah, so the total dollar amount is 4.7 million. And we're
Okay,
not
so-
sure on the interest rate yet because we're still reviewing those.
So why is this, I saw in this write-up about the summary, why is it so urgent again? And why can't it be reversed? Why is it?
So the reason we put emergency in there is because if you don't state that it's an emergency, you can't block the rate in the 30-day window of the bid. So the emergency status allows us to lock the rate once they're quoted.
So what exactly are you going to do for that money?
If you look at the second page on the exhibit, right here, that's a
Mhm.
list of all the projects.
Okay, so I'm not really that familiar with all this, but that's a lot of money. So where is this going to be done?
All the locations are listed on the project. So there are various wastewater projects around town.
So what exactly is the problem with the sewers?
There's no specific problem, but as we try to keep up the infrastructure to keep having to do full replacement, we do repairs and maintenance along the way. So some of it's new, some of it's changing the size and capacity, and some of it's adding upgraded equipment.
So does anyone, that's a lot of money to spend, does anyone go out and examine your work? Like how you're doing and what you're doing and what it looks like and quality and all that?
Yeah, so our engineering staff does
Oh, from your own
assessment
company?
from the city, yes. Mhm.
From the city. Okay. So how do we know if it's being done? Is there a report on that?
Yeah, so there's progress report along the way, and then we do a final walkthrough with
Can I
our.
see those reports? Do I have access
For
to those reports?
you will when we get going on these projects.
How will I get access?
Yeah, you can
Public
just
record.
you just do a public records request. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So and you decided to do it this way with the bonds because?
So in 2014, we completed the expansion of our wastewater treatment plant, and as we were building that, we were trying to pay cash along the way, which meant some of our regularly scheduled maintenance and projects did not get done. So we got a little bit behind, but the treatment plant was needed to handle our capacity. So that's why we're doing this, to try and catch up.
Justin, let me add to that.
Sure.
Years ago, the city had a company, I believe called economist.com, do a rate study for us to determine what our sewer rates and water rates should be. The city had two options back then. One, to raise the rates higher than they are today, or one, to leave the rates a little lower. And then knowing that every 5 years or so, 5 to 10 years, we would have to do a bond issue to do a catch up. And we're in the time frame where we're catching up on some of the projects. So we are able to keep the rates low for all of our customers.
Okay, so we're going to see this fee, right? We're going to be charged something.
We'll pay for these bonds out of the rates we collect from our customers for wastewater use. There will be no additional increase in the wastewater rates.
You're saying you're not going to increase our rate?
Under the resolution the council's approved, the rates are increased every January by the CPI.
So you're going to increase them in January?
Right, and as they have been the last 7 or 8 years, 7 to 10 years, I can't remember exactly how long that study was.
So they aren't going to be increased for this.
Is there a ceiling as to how much they can be increased?
It's based on the consumer price index. So every year at January, they look at the consumer price. They're increased by that amount.
Okay, right off the top of your head, is it going to be a small amount, a big amount? Is it going to be like a $10 amount?
No.
Is it going
It's usually 2 to 3%.
2 to 3%?
And the base bill for wastewater is $32 today. So you're
it's
talking
less than $1.
60 to 90 cents.
Yeah. Less than $1 per month.
Can I bring up another issue right now, or do I have to stay?
If it's related to this item, you can, but you really need to be talking to the council, not us, so.
Okay.
Just a quick comment, I guess. Isn't this something that maybe staff can meet with?
We'd be happy to meet with you and go over all the issues, the questions you have. If you have more questions, we can sit down and meet with you and explain, show you the studies that's been done and why we're doing what we're doing with these projects.
And then the other concern that you want to talk about, maybe they can answer that for you too.
Well, that concern was answered, but not to my satisfaction. Because to charge someone $7,000 to do a hookup on their water and sewage.
That's not what we're on
I
the
know,
agenda
but I'm
right
on
now.
that.
No, but you can't
Discuss
talk
it
about right
tonight.
now.
Well, that's what I asked, if I could also bring something related. That has to do with sewage and hookups.
That you can bring up at staff. And you already have, obviously.
I know, but not here.
Right.
I brought it up privately, and I'm not happy with charging someone $7,000 just to hook up sewer and water. That's not right.
That's not what's on the agenda right now.
I know, but I'm just making that known that I don't think that's way too greedy. That's greedy. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions at this time? Do we have a motion?
Councilman Clark, I move to adopt resolution number 2021-25, providing for the sale, execution, and delivery pursuant to a first excess tax trust agreement of an excess tax revenue, Series 2021, evidencing all of the interests of the holder thereof in installment payments of the purchase price to be paid by the City of Show Low, Arizona, pursuant to a first excise tax purchase agreement, authorizing the completion, execution, and delivery with respect thereto of agreements necessary as appropriate as part of the refinancing and paying related financing costs, delegating to the mayor, the city manager, and the finance director certain authority with respect to the purposes hereof, and declaring an emergency, authorizing the city manager to expend all necessary funds therefor.
Do we have a second?
I am seconding the motion for Councilman Hatch.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I do. Justin and staff, thank you for going out and finding the lowest interest rate you can get us on this. I know it's something that we need to catch up on and make things good for us. I know we spent a lot of money on the sewer plant and getting that all done. We didn't take anything out for taxes or anything else like that. We saved up over $7.5 million to do that. So I'm glad that we're catching up with this and getting it for under $5 million, so we can get everything caught up and get everything back to where it needs to be. So at least that's what we want to do on the infrastructure. That's what all of us council would like to make sure that we stay on top of. So I want to thank you and staff for pursuing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion passes 7-0. The next item under new business is consideration of lease agreement with Navajo County for property located at 1400 North David A. Fold Jr. Drive, Units A and B at Show Low Regional Airport. Mr. Brown?
Mr. President Williams and Mayor Leach, I'm going to declare a conflict of interest for this matter. I work for the Navajo County Attorney's Office, and our office will be providing legal counsel to Navajo County regarding this lease agreement, so I'm going to declare a conflict.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and students. So what we're talking about here is the modular buildings out at, by the airport. The city previously leased this space to the United States Forest Service for their regional dispatch center. Approximately 1 year ago, the Forest Service vacated the buildings at the end of their lease and moved their operations to Springerville. The buildings have been vacant since that time. The city explored with the Show Low School District that if they had any need for these buildings, but the cost to move them was prohibitive. City staff then approached Navajo County to gauge their interest in moving the buildings. The county recently expressed a need for the buildings at their current location to house emergency operations and other health district functions at that site. The county is proposing a 2-year lease at $2,000 per month for the buildings. The county will pay for all the utilities. They will eventually build some permanent buildings for these services and move to that site at a later date. So city staff recommends approving this lease with Navajo County, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Are there any questions for staff?
I just have a comment. If I may, I'm
Yes.
really glad that we were able to find somebody that could utilize this property and deterioration. So I'd look at that with the county to do that.
Any further questions or comments? Do we have a motion?
For Councilwoman Wilson, I move to approve the lease agreement with Navajo County for property located at 1400 North David A. Foyle Drive, Units A and B at the Show Low Regional Airport, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement and authorize the city attorney to approve any minor revisions to the lease agreement.
Do we have a second?
I am seconding the motion for Councilman Adams.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion passes 6-0. Our next agenda item is summary of current events. Do any council members have anything to report? We'll now turn the time to Mayor Leach for his report.
Just a report. Thank you guys very much for giving us a day off. We appreciate it. Thanks, Vice Mayor, for covering the meeting a couple weeks ago. I appreciate it. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report. Any other council members? Councilman Austin.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank the kids and Mr. Whipple for everything they've done for up here and for the League of, Arizona League of Cities and Towns. It's been a great honor for the last 11 years to have these kids come up here, different kids come up here in front of this council and different councils and people, and to show a little bit of what leadership is from the high school role up to the city leadership. So I want to thank each one of the kids that participated in going down to Phoenix and doing the league, and then everybody that's came in for today. I just want to thank you for taking your time out and to learn a little bit more about not only Show Low, Arizona, but everything else in Arizona and all the other cities and towns. So thank you very much.
Behind you.
Yes.
I just also wanted to put in our gratitude, my gratitude for all of you attending, also for the sponsors that go with them. It's a lot of time out of your day and your week as well. It's very important for our community to continue to develop our youth and have a future for local and understanding. I'd also like to wish our mayor a happy 60th birthday.
Really?
I think you mean 24.
I don't look a day over 60. Right here.
Yes.
Hi, I would like to, I'm Councilwoman Wilson, sorry, I can't talk tonight. I would like to thank you guys. It's so nice to getting involved in council. Please don't stop with student council. You know, keep going, follow your dreams and do those things that you want to do. And to Miss Lee, I believe you attended the mental health class. That's really cool. I don't know if you got to check that or not, but it's so important being the criminal justice coordinator for Navajo County and dealing with mentally ill, and you know, mental health is so important up here in Navajo County and getting people services. I know your class was different on just maintaining your own personal mental health, but it was nice to see that you reported on that. So thank you.
Oh, got another one.
Just also want to say thank you, and also that's great too. And at school, and I want to thank the teachers and that sacrifice a lot of time and many teachers to help these students learn about the government and how things work. And I know Derek spends a lot of time with student council and helping get these kids to this point. So I just want to make sure that they know how grateful we are for all they do.
City Manager, Mr. Meadow, will now give his report.
Thank you, and again, thank the student council for the day-to-day. Our staff enjoys taking you out and shadowing their jobs, and I think it's good for both sides, and we appreciate you being able to come. A couple of things to report. A free movie in the park will be held on Friday, September 24th, 7 p.m. at the Ponderosa Field at City Park with the showing of Disney's Onward. You can bring your own chair, camp chair, or blanket, and all ages are welcome to attend that event. Last month, the city received a letter of recognition for the Government Finance Officer Association Triple Crown Award for fiscal year 2019, and we just received notice again that the city received the Triple Crown Award for fiscal year 20 as well. This means that the past year we have received all 3 of the achievable awards for the GFOA office that they offer, which is Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, and Popular Annual Financial Reporting Award. This recognition represents a significant accomplishment for our finance staff and is the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting. We want to thank our finance staff and especially Carrie Bilby for her efforts. She puts a lot of work into preparing all those reports. And then in public works projects, the citywide paving project's almost complete with the city's contractor fixing driveways and adjusting utilities. Work on Shoal Lake Road sidewalk project's almost complete with the contractor finishing the paving the entrances and putting up handrails. And as everybody's noticed on the Deuce Clubs, the ADOT mill and overlay project continues. They started working on White Mountain Road because they're gonna do both of those highways. They're working on, as I said, on White Mountain Road from Highway 260 all the way into the Wagon Wheel area. They are tentatively scheduled, and I say tentatively because that's what their schedule shows right now, to start paving the Deuce Clubs in about 2 weeks. And again, we appreciate our citizens' patience as improvements are made around the city. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also like to thank the City Council for allowing us to have this honor to come here tonight. Thank you guys for all your work. And I'd also like to thank my teacher, Mr. Whipple, for giving me the honor to be here tonight. And I'd like to recognize the high school, Shola High School.
When you're down there.
I missed getting in there. I would like to recognize one of the younger faces among the 5 in that second row back. Mr. Whipple, thank you for your support, dedication, and turning out a wonderful crop of young students and future citizens. Thank you.
Once again, just like to give a shout out to the high school and everything they do. Athletics, schoolwork, our work with mental health as well. Just like to recognize soccer, volleyball, cross country, football, go Cougars. Thank you guys. Seeing no further business. Oh,
Hang on.
sorry.
One quick comment. I know we've thanked everybody in this whole room except behind the scenes. Mike, thank you again for what you do to make this happen. Rachel, you guys do an awesome job, and we never comment on what Rachel and Nicole do, but if it wasn't for you guys, this probably wouldn't happen either. So thank you both very much, and all the staff today that participated in this. Bill, I'm sure you were involved somewhere. I know you, so just don't forget, staff did a great job on putting this on behind the scenes, so thank you guys. Now you can go ahead and get us out of here.
Thank you. This brings us to the scheduling of meetings. Are there any meetings to be mentioned at this time?
No.
Nope. Seeing no further business, I adjourn this meeting.